Chapter 1. The Nightmare. The grey-coloured pebble-dashed house on Old Black Street estate looked gloomy in the mid-December early morning rain. A violent storm was brewing in the mountains above, and was heading down the valley towards the small village of Bont. The local town, about 10 miles away, had suffered a severe battering the night before, the biggest storm for over 100 years, people said, and it was now about to thrash into the small village. 3 houses from the town had had their roofs torn off, and the local river had burst its bank, causing floods the town had never experienced before. The wind raced down the small valley like a pack of rabid wolves and howled through the dark alleys in Old Black Street estate. Work clothes left out on the washing line from the calm day earlier danced together like ghosts in the night's black sky. The storm was approaching with a vengeance. It clapped and thundered in the lightning light show. The orange glow of the street light next to number 38 flickered on and off in the wind, revealing a pile of old cardboard boxes and rubbish dumped up against the broken cast iron garden gate. The thunder shook the house as the boy awoke in a cold sweat in his dark bedroom. The storm outside roared into his ears like a lion and rattled the metal bedroom window frames in anger. Daniel opened his blurry blue eyes and sat up in his tiny box bedroom. He gazed solemnly into the dark, struggling to come to terms with the horrible nightmare that had awoken him so abruptly. Shadows from the trees outside danced around the room as his imagination started to run wild. Daniel sat up in his bed, clutching his blankets in his hands, pulling them up to his face. The boy was petrified as his nightmare, along with the storm, exploded like fireworks deep in his mind. He vaguely remembered strange black goblin-like creatures. Some had sharp, gnashing teeth, others with evil, piercing black eyes. In his misty dream he saw the tall, dark figure of a man, wearing a large black cloak, holding a staff, like a shepherd. But this man was no shepherd. The tall figure was surrounded by 13 horsemen, guarding him, as if their lives depended on it. The horses snorted loudly as steam rose from their sweaty backs. Daniel trembled and tried to blank the nightmare from his mind. He closed his eyes tightly, but his nightmare was still there. This would not go away easily. Shivering with total fear, he slowly slid down his bed and watched the shadows dance around his tiny, cold bedroom. The storm outside was gathering pace and was now getting closer and louder by the minute. The streetlights outside flickered off for a minute as Daniel's bedroom turned into complete darkness. The thunderclouds bounced together and roared in the skies above his room. A flash of lightning entered the small box room as Daniel held his blankets close towards his tired, bloodshot eyes. Another flash of lightning lit up the room for a second, like a fireball. The boy's mind started to play some wicked tricks. Or were they tricks? In the corner of the room, only 5 foot away, stood the dark grey figure of the man he had seen in his nightmares only 5 minutes earlier. The boy, stiff with fear, looked on with bulging eyes. The figure stood motionless as lightning lit up his features. The man grimaced and gazed at the boy. Daniel's eyes opened widely as he slowly pulled the blankets above his head and slid into a ball in the middle of his bed. He shivered with fear as thunder clapped again above the house, louder than he had ever heard before. The storm was here and tried desperately to enter the room to visit the boy's nightmare. Daniel lay sealed in his cocoon and didn't move an inch. The bed was soaked with sweat as the boy waited for what seemed like an eternity. At least an hour of endless time had passed before Daniel slowly decided to pull the blankets away from his face. The storm outside cheered loudly with claps of thunder as he emerged from his wet, sweat-sodden bed. The dark figure had gone just as quickly as it appeared. The mind is a cruel tool of torture. Daniel laid back in his bed and listened to the madness outside. His eyelids started to get heavier and heavier, but no way was he going back into that nightmare. Daniel fought hard, but as we all know, sleep fights harder. His heavy eyelids flickered open and closed as the orange street lights outside turned off, bringing total darkness. The boy was now asleep again, the heaviest sleep of his life. His nightmare and his vision was somehow erased from his mind, for now. Daniel slept quietly as the storm raged outside. Strange and weird things were about to happen in the small village of Bont. History was about to be changed, and people would talk about this story for centuries. Daniel Hawthorne's nightmare wasn't erased. Daniel Hawthorne's nightmare was just about to begin. End of chapter 1.